Hi there. In this lecture we see Magnus Carlsen playing an absolutely iconic game early in his career. This is against Ernst in 2004 Corus Group C, which he later won. This is in round 12. He won the whole tournament. So fantastic game example of what I'd call positional calculations. So let's see. So like Pixar, like a good story, not just about the technology or the special effects, Magnus Carlsen's chess is like a good positional story, and the tactics and calculations support that story. So let's see what I mean by that. So let's have a look. Corus defense. Magnus plays knight c3. We have d takes e4. Knight takes e4, bishop f5. The knight goes to g3, bishop g6, h4, h6, knight f3, knight d7. We have h5, bishop h7, bishop d3. So the bishops get swapped off. This is very theoretical so far. Bishop f4, knight g to f6, white castle's queenside. We see bishop e7, and now knight e4. Okay, so this knight's not doing too much on g3. It does seem logical to exchange it off. If we played king b1, black could play c5, and we could play knight e4 now. These are decent positions for white. This position, for example, is decent for white. Bishop f6 looks scary, but just to get a feel for this kind of position, with the black king still in the center, d takes, we're going to have an advantage here. We're smashing through. So it's quite dangerous, king b1. If black plays c5 here, with the king in the center, black really needs to think about castling. King safety is a priority. So anyway, here, queen a5 was played, king b1, and now castling. Knight takes f6, check is played. g4 is a bit weakening for white. It would seem natural to try and open up the g file. Black could take though, and after knight f6 here, just actually risk taking on g4. This position is actually quite solid for black. So anyway, knight takes f6, check is played. Knight takes, and now knight e5. We have rook a to d8. Here, if c5, which seems like a logical move, we can go with queen g3 here. Note how that pawn's useful, supported by the rook, so there's no knight h5. So we'd be threatening bishop takes h6. If c takes, bishop takes h6. Here we can go with bishop takes g7, king takes, rook takes d4. This is a very strong position for white. We can take on g4. We're smashing through with big advantage. Okay, so rook a to d8. We have queen e2. This is a very interesting move. And now, queen g3 also is tempting even here. Black has king h8, that would be a decent move, in c5. So this situation, white does have a small edge, but the advantage is limited. We have queen e2, and now actually at move 17, this can be considered a mistake, c5. So why would this be a mistake? So the thing is about this position, we have various potential x-rays. So like the rook is kind of x-raying down the h file. I know there's two obstacles in the way, but just let's imagine these obstacles weren't there. This rook could be useful in the h file. This queen is kind of x-raying e6. And we have a kind of move which addresses the obstacles of these x-rays. It's kind of positional attacking move here after c5. So c5 carries with it some risk. A safer move would have been queen b6. If c5 would come with queen e6 holding e6, so this would seem safer, this way of playing it. And say d takes, bishop takes, this would be an even position as example. Black carefully using the queen there, not letting f7 go, it's an even position. But the way it's played with c5 here allows a really interesting kind of positionally driven, story driven, as in the positional kind of guidance of the position, tactical move. It's to do with like liberating these x-rays, in fact. So what do you think this move is for 100 points? Yeah, the move knight g6 means we're directly in contact with e6. We're hitting the rook and bishop. Black doesn't really want to lose the dark square bishop. Those weakened dark squares will give white an advantage. But, you know, maybe that was best to move the rook. We have actually f takes, and this opens up another obstacle for the rook, now hitting h6 directly, and also the h-file x-rayed after that. So obstacles are being cleared out with this knight g6. If rook fe8, we can just grab that bishop and claim a nice advantage here. D takes, hits the rook. Let's say knight d5, bishop e5. And white has this idea of c4 sometimes if queen takes. Let's say rook, the rook's double, rook e to d7, c4 here, and we can take off a pair of rooks and bishop d6. We do have a nice advantage here. So anyway, black plays f takes g6. So now queen takes e6 check. And now h takes. So look how the rook is on a straight x-ray to the king on h8. And in fact, there's an immediate threat here. Just to show the threat, well, black played knight g8 just to show the threat. Let's say a6 was played. Guess what we can do here for 10 points, which is really quite crushing. Yeah, we can actually play rook takes h6 check, bishop takes. And let's say rook g8, rook h1. We're ready with things like bishop f8 for checkmating. If rook takes g6, bishop f8, knight h7, we can take the rook. And this is desperate from black. Black's just absolutely losing here. Okay, we're going to overwhelm with the queen soon. Well, we're going to win more material. So that's interesting. That was just to show the threat that this is so powerful, this position. So that would be a really strong sequence. So knight g8 holds h6 up, but now guess what Magnus plays? So we're kind of x-raying the king. We're removing obstacles again. Bishop takes h6, removing an obstacle, or trying to remove an obstacle. Liberates the g-pawn now, and opens up. It clears out this rank. If rook takes d4 had been played, we can play bishop takes g7 check, and rook h7 is checkmate. If knight takes was played, we can take on h6, and look how queen takes e7 is so powerful here with queen h7 mate threat. If queen c7, that's desperate. We're taking the queen. This is just desperate. Okay, so yeah, there's not much to defend here on queen e7. Not much decent to defend here. Okay, so g takes is played. We have rook takes h6 check, and now knight takes. If king g7, rook h7 is checkmate. So knight takes is played. We have queen takes e7. And there is a key defense available to this queen h7 mate here. Black tries knight f7. So Magnus is like a whole rook down here, but the king's very exposed. And we have big, clear threats like queen f6 check first, maybe, and then rook h1. So king g7 protects against queen f6. That's one of the things it does at least. If rook takes d4, we'd go with queen f6 check, rook h1 check, rook takes. So, okay, so king g7 played. And now this is really amazing. The queen is importantly looking at e1. We can afford rook d3 because we're still holding e1 here against queen e1. Rook d6, rook g3 check, rook g6, queen e5 check. So can black survive a rook up? King takes is played. King takes f7. If king h7, queen h5 check, queen f5 check, queen e5 check, and this is unfortunate. We get coordination, teamwork on g7 for a checkmate. So king takes f7 was played. We have queen f5 check, and this is so powerful here. What does black do? Black's in big trouble. Black allows actually a mate in one after rook f6. There's a checkmate with queen d7. That was actually allowed. So could black have defended? If king e7, we can play rook e3 check. Now that we're holding e1, we can think about winning material more freely as well. We can take on f8 though, and in fact, yeah, we can just take on g6 because we're holding e1 against queen e1. If king g8 has been tried, queen takes g6 check, rook h3 is checkmate. If king e8, we can take on g6, queen g7 check, rook e3 check, and we pick up that rook. It's all with check, and we're carrying on with checks maybe, so whole rook up. So yeah, quite a crushing game, a real demolition job on the h-file. I'd like to point out though that this is so positionally oriented as well, this tactical idea, this knight g6, in terms of what's the story here. We're liberating x-rays, you know, the x-ray on e6, the x-ray of the rook down the h-file. So this is a lot faster than, you know, the attempt we saw in some variations of g4 trying to open up the g-file. This is just so much quicker to get the pressure, the concrete pressure really going. What an iconic move. So a brilliant iconic move from this iconic tournament. Magnus winning the 2004 Corus Group C in great style overall in the tournament. This was round 12 against King Ernst. What a masterpiece. Okay. Thanks very much. Hi all. I hope you enjoyed this free Magnus Carlsen lecture. I will be doing quite a few, in fact, because I'm working on a course about universal chess style with a lot of Magnus Carlsen game examples. So I hope you can actually support my channel indirectly by checking out my courses page at Kingscrusher TV. It has great discount codes quite often. So I have a number of courses I've been working on in the last few years. As you can see, I've been busy. Some of these have become Udemy bestsellers in the past or currently, like the Complete Beginner's Guide to Chess is a current bestseller. The Complete Guide to Chess Tactics was previously a Udemy bestseller. So I hope you can check out the courses, and there are free lecture offerings you can check out as well within these. If you really want to get an idea more about the course, you can also expand the course structure when you go and check out a course. So I hope you check out the Kingscrusher TV page, which has these great discount codes attached to all these links. So it's better than going to Udemy directly if you want chess courses, okay, at really affordable prices. So thanks again. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks very much.